First contact. In the year 2157, humanity had spread across the stars, colonizing dozens of worlds and establishing a thriving interstellar civilization. The United Earth Federation, born from the ashes of old rivalries and conflicts, now stood as a beacon of unity and progress. At the heart of this federation was Earth itself, a shining jewel of technological marvels and cultural diversity. It was here, in the hallowed halls of the UEF Quantum Research Institute, that Dr. Lena Sorensen made a startling discovery. "Admiral, you need to see this," she said, her voice echoing through the cavernous chamber. Admiral Janus Novak, a grizzled veteran of the early colonial wars, strode over to the holo display. "What am I looking at, Doctor?" he asked, his eyes narrowing as he studied the swirling mass of data. "A fleet, Admiral. A massive fleet, approaching from the direction of the Galactic core. Their trajectory puts them on a direct course for Earth." Admiral Novak felt a chill run down his spine. In all the decades of human expansion, they had never encountered another spacefaring civilization. The implications were staggering. "How long until they arrive?" he asked, his mind already racing with the preparations that would need to be made. "At their current velocity, they'll be here in 3 days," Dr. Sorensen replied, her fingers dancing across the quantum interface. "I've already alerted the Federation Council. They're convening an emergency session." Admiral Novak nodded, his jaw set with grim determination. "Then let's not keep them waiting. It's time to prepare for first contact." As news of the approaching fleet spread, the people of Earth and her colonies reacted with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Some saw it as an opportunity for new discoveries and alliances, while others feared the unknown intentions of these alien visitors. But one thing was certain: humanity would face this challenge as it had faced all others, with courage, ingenuity, and an unbreakable spirit. They had come too far to be cowed by the specter of the unknown. 3 days later, the alien fleet arrived in Earth's solar system, a vast armada of sleek, silver ships that gleamed in the light of the sun. They took up position in high orbit, their intentions still unclear. On the surface, Admiral Novak stood on the observation deck of UEF headquarters, his eyes fixed on the view screen that showed the assembled might of the alien fleet. Beside him stood the leaders of the Federation Council, their faces etched with a mixture of wonder and concern. "What do they want?" asked Counselor Ilara Voss, her voice barely above a whisper. "That's what we're here to find out," Admiral Novak replied, his hand resting on the hilt of his ceremonial sword. "But whatever happens, we will face it together. Earth stands united." As if on cue, a hail from the alien flagship filled the room, a deep, resonant voice that seemed to echo from the very stars themselves. "People of Earth," it began, "we come in peace, seeking to open a dialogue between our civilizations. We have much to discuss." Admiral Novak shared a glance with his fellow leaders, a silent conversation passing between them. Then, with a nod, he stepped forward to respond. "On behalf of the United Earth Federation, I welcome you to our solar system," he said, his voice steady and strong. "We are ready to hear what you have to say." And so, with those fateful words, the course of human history was changed forever. The age of isolation was over. The era of galactic diplomacy had begun. Little did they know, however, that the intentions of these alien visitors were far from benign. Beneath the veneer of peaceful overtures lurked a darker purpose, one that would test the very limits of human resolve and ingenuity. But as the ancient saying went, "Beware the gifts of strangers." Earth was about to learn the true meaning of those words and the price of letting down their guard. The greatest challenge humanity had ever faced was about to begin. The envoy. The alien envoy arrived in a sleek, silver shuttle that descended from the massive flagship like a gleaming arrow. It touched down on the landing pad of the UEF Diplomatic Center, a sprawling complex nestled in the heart of Geneva. Admiral Novak, flanked by a delegation of Earth's most accomplished diplomats and scientists, watched as the shuttle's hatch hissed open, revealing a tall, slender figure draped in flowing robes of shimmering silk. The envoy was humanoid in appearance, with smooth, pale skin and angular features that seemed almost too perfect to be natural. Its eyes were a piercing blue, flecked with specks of silver that caught the light as it moved. "Greetings," the envoy said, its voice a melodic whisper that seemed to fill the air around them. "I am Ambassador Zarin of the Galactic Confederation. On behalf of my people, I extend our warmest regards to the people of Earth." Admiral Novak stepped forward, his hand outstretched in a gesture of welcome. "Ambassador Zarin," he said, "it is an honor to meet you. I am Admiral Janice Novak, representative of the United Earth Federation. We welcome you to our world and look forward to the opportunity for peaceful dialogue between our civilizations." The ambassador accepted Novak's hand, its grip cool and firm. "The honor is ours, Admiral," it replied, a faint smile playing across its lips. "We have much to discuss." As the human and alien delegations made their way inside the diplomatic center, a sense of cautious optimism filled the air. This was a momentous occasion, a chance to forge new alliances and unlock the secrets of the universe. But as the talks began, it quickly became clear that the Galactic Confederation's intentions were not entirely altruistic. Ambassador Zarin spoke of a great threat lurking on the fringes of known space, a race of ruthless conquerors known as the Krath, who had already subjugated dozens of worlds. "The Krath are unlike any foe we have ever faced," Zarin said, its voice grave. "They possess technology and weapons far beyond our own, and they will stop at nothing to achieve their goals. The Confederation has been fighting a losing battle against them for years, and we fear that it is only a matter of time before they turn their attention to Earth." Admiral Novak and his fellow diplomats exchanged worried glances. The specter of an alien invasion was not something they had prepared for. "What do you propose?" Novak asked, leaning forward in his seat. Zarin's expression turned solemn. "The Confederation offers you a choice," it said. "Join us in our fight against the Krath. Pledge your allegiance to our cause, and we will share our technology and resources with you. Together, we may stand a chance of defeating this menace." There was a long, heavy silence as the human delegation considered the proposal. On the surface, it seemed like a tempting offer, a chance to gain advanced technology and secure Earth's place in the galactic community. But something about Zarin's words didn't sit right with Admiral Novak. There was a hint of desperation in the ambassador's tone, a sense that the Confederation was not being entirely forthcoming about its motivations. "And if we refuse?" Novak asked, his voice carefully neutral. Zarin's smile faltered, a flicker of annoyance crossing its perfect features. "Then you will face the Krath alone," it replied, its voice hardening. "And believe me, Admiral, you do not want to face the Krath alone." The threat was clear, even if it was not explicitly stated. Earth had a choice: join the Confederation and fight a war they knew nothing about, or risk annihilation at the hands of an unknown enemy. But Admiral Novak was not a man to be cowed by threats, no matter how veiled. He had faced down pirates and warlords in the early days of human expansion, and he was not about to bow to the demands of an alien power, no matter how advanced. "Ambassador Zarin," he said, his voice ringing with quiet authority, "the United Earth Federation does not respond well to ultimatums. We are a proud and independent people, and we will not be bullied into a war we did not start." Zarin's eyes flashed with anger, but it quickly composed itself. "I understand your reluctance, Admiral," it said, its voice silky smooth, "but I urge you to reconsider. The Krath are a threat to all life in the galaxy. Joining the Confederation is your only hope of survival." Admiral Novak rose to his feet, his gaze locked with Zarin's. "We will take your words under advisement, Ambassador," he said. "But Earth will make its own decisions in its own time. We will not be rushed into a course of action that may not be in our best interests." Zarin's smile was cold and brittle. "Of course, Admiral," it replied. Take all the time you need. But remember, the clock is ticking. The craft will not wait forever." With that, the ambassador turned and strode from the room, its robes swirling behind it like a trail of stardust. Admiral Novak watched it go, a sense of unease settling in his gut. He knew that this was only the beginning, that the true test of Earth's resolve was yet to come. But he also knew that humanity had faced challenges before and had always emerged stronger for it. They would not cower in the face of this new threat, no matter how daunting it seemed. Earth would stand tall, and Earth would fight. And if the craft came knocking on their door, they would be ready to meet them head-on, with all the strength and ingenuity that had carried them to the stars in the first place. The age of galactic diplomacy had begun, but it was already shaping up to be a far more dangerous game than anyone had anticipated. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. Hidden strength. In the days following the tense negotiations with Ambassador Zarin, Earth found itself in a state of heightened alert. The UEF military went on high alert, its fleets and armies mobilizing for a potential conflict with the mysterious craft. But even as they prepared for war, Earth's leaders knew that they were at a severe disadvantage. The Galactic Confederation's technology was far beyond their own, and if the craft were even more advanced, as Zarin had implied, then Earth's chances of victory were slim indeed. But what the aliens didn't know, what no one outside of Earth's innermost circles knew, was that humanity had a secret weapon, one that had been in development for decades, hidden away in the depths of the UEF's most secure research facilities. It was called the Quantum Shield, a revolutionary defensive technology that harnessed the power of quantum entanglement to create an impenetrable barrier around Earth and its colonies. Developed by Dr. Lena Sorensen and her team at the Quantum Research Institute, the shield was Earth's ultimate trump card, a last line of defense against any alien threat. And so, as the UEF military braced for an attack from the craft, Dr. Sorensen and her team worked around the clock to bring the quantum shield online, racing against time to ensure that Earth would not be caught unprepared. Their efforts did not go unnoticed by the Galactic Confederation. Ambassador Zarin, still smarting from the UEF's refusal to join their war against the craft, kept a close eye on Earth's preparations, growing increasingly suspicious of the sudden flurry of activity around the planet's research facilities. And then, without warning, the craft struck. A massive fleet of alien warships, bristling with advanced weaponry and shielding, appeared on the outskirts of Earth's solar system, catching the UEF fleet completely off guard. The human ships, outmatched and outgunned, were quickly overwhelmed, their hulls shattered by the craft's devastating plasma cannons. But even as the UEF fleet fell back in disarray, the craft ships continued their relentless advance, closing in on Earth with terrifying speed. It seemed that nothing could stop them, that Earth's defenses would crumble before the onslaught of alien firepower. And then, just as all hope seemed lost, the quantum shield came online. A shimmering barrier of energy sprang into existence around Earth, a vast, impenetrable dome that stretched from pole to pole. The craft ships, caught off guard by the sudden appearance of the shield, opened fire with everything they had, their weapons slamming into the barrier with titanic force. But the shield held, absorbing the energy of the craft's attacks and dissipating it harmlessly into space. The alien ships, their weapons useless against the impenetrable barrier, could only watch in stunned disbelief as their assault was thwarted. On the surface of Earth, the people watched in awe as the quantum shield lit up the sky, a dazzling display of light and color that seemed to defy the very laws of physics. In the streets of cities around the world, crowds gathered to cheer and celebrate, their fears and doubts washed away by the sight of Earth's ultimate defense in action. In the UEF Command Center, Admiral Novak and his staff watched the battle unfold on a giant holographic display, their faces etched with grim determination. They knew that the quantum shield was only the beginning, that Earth would need more than just a defensive advantage to win this war. And so, even as the Krath ships retreated in confusion, the UEF's own fleet launched a devastating counterattack, their ships armed with advanced weaponry of their own reverse-engineered from captured alien technology. The Krath, caught off guard by the sudden ferocity of Earth's response, fell back in disarray, their formation scattering as the human ships tore through their ranks with ruthless efficiency. It was a stunning victory, a turning point in the war that no one had seen coming. Earth had shown the galaxy that it was not a primitive backwater, not a helpless pawn to be pushed around by alien powers. No, Earth was a force to be reckoned with, a civilization with hidden strengths and unbreakable resolve. And as the news of their victory spread throughout the galaxy, other worlds began to take notice, to see humanity in a new light. The Galactic Confederation, too, was forced to reevaluate its stance on Earth. Ambassador Zarin, humbled by the display of human ingenuity and strength, reached out to Admiral Novak once again, this time with a far more conciliatory tone. "Admiral," Zarin said, its voice tinged with grudging respect, "it seems we have underestimated your people. The Confederation would like to extend an offer of alliance, a chance to work together against the Krath as equals." Admiral Novak, his eyes still fixed on the holographic display, allowed himself a small smile. "Ambassador," he replied, "Earth is always open to the possibility of cooperation and friendship. But let me make one thing clear. We will not be vassals or servants to anyone. If we fight alongside you, it will be as partners, not as subordinates." Zarin nodded, a flicker of understanding crossing its angular features. "Of course, Admiral," it said. "The Confederation respects the strength and independence of its allies. We would be honored to fight alongside you, as equals." And so, with a handshake and a nod, a new alliance was born, one that would change the course of the war and the fate of the galaxy forever. Earth had shown its hidden strength, and the universe would never be the same again. The age of human ascendancy had begun, and nothing would stand in its way. Turning the tide. In the wake of Earth's stunning victory over the Krath, the tide of the war began to turn. The UEF, bolstered by its new alliance with the Galactic Confederation, launched a series of daring offensives against the Krath, striking deep into enemy territory with a ferocity that caught the alien invaders off guard. Leading the charge was Admiral Janis Novak, his flagship, the UES Vanguard, at the forefront of every engagement. With the quantum shield technology now installed on every human ship, the UEF fleet was virtually invulnerable, able to shrug off the Krath's most devastating attacks with ease. But even with their technological advantage, the war was far from over. The Krath, for all their arrogance and brutality, were a formidable foe, with vast armies and fleets that seemed to stretch across the galaxy. And so, the UEF and its allies fought on, their ships and soldiers locked in a desperate struggle for survival against an enemy that would not rest until every last human had been wiped from existence. On the front lines of this epic conflict was Captain Lena Sorensen, the brilliant scientist who had created the quantum shield. Now, she found herself in command of her own ship, the UES Dauntless, a sleek, state-of-the-art vessel equipped with the latest in human technology. Under Captain Sorensen's leadership, the Dauntless quickly became a legend among the UEF fleet, its crew known for their bravery, their skill, and their unwavering dedication to the cause turning the tide. Together, Admiral Novak and Captain Sorensen led the UEF and its allies in a series of daring raids and surprise attacks, striking at the heart of the Krath's war machine. They targeted key supply lines, weapons factories, and command centers, slowly but surely weakening the enemy's grip on the galaxy. But the Krath would not go down without a fight. They retaliated with a fury that shook the very foundations of the universe, launching massive counterattacks that threatened to overwhelm the Allied forces. In one particularly brutal engagement, the UES Dauntless found itself surrounded by a Krath battle group, its shields failing under a relentless barrage of plasma fire. Captain Sorensen, her face grim with determination, ordered her crew to divert all power to the engines, plotting a daring escape maneuver that would take them right through the heart of the enemy formation. It was a risky move, one that could easily have ended in disaster. But Sorensen's crew trusted her implicitly, and they executed her orders with flawless precision. The Dauntless, its hull scorched and battered but still intact, burst through the craft lines like a bolt of lightning, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. As news of the Dauntless's exploits spread throughout the fleet, morale soared to new heights. The human soldiers and their alien allies fought with renewed vigor, inspired by the bravery and skill of their leaders. And slowly but surely, the tide began to turn. The Krath, their forces weakened and their supplies dwindling, began to fall back, their once mighty fleets retreating in the face of the Allied onslaught. But even as victory seemed within reach, a new threat emerged from the shadows. A faction within the Krath, even more radical and fanatical than the rest, had been working in secret to develop a weapon of unimaginable power, a device that could tear apart the very fabric of space and time itself. If this weapon were to be unleashed, it would mean the end of everything, not just the UEF and its allies, but the entire galaxy and perhaps even the universe beyond. And so Admiral Novak and Captain Sorensen found themselves facing a new and terrifying challenge, a race against time to find and destroy the Krath's ultimate weapon before it could be used to bring about the end of all things. It was a mission that would test them to their very limits, one that would require every ounce of their skill, courage, and determination. But they knew that they could not fail, for the fate of everything they held dear hung in the balance. As the Vanguard and the Dauntless led the charge once more, plunging deep into the heart of Krath space on a desperate quest to save the galaxy, the eyes of the universe watched and waited, wondering if this would be the moment that the tide finally turned for good, or if it would be the moment that everything came crashing down, lost forever to the darkness of oblivion. Only time would tell, as the greatest battle in the history of the cosmos unfolded, with the future of all life hanging in the balance. Part 5. The Final Stand. The Krath's secret weapon, a device capable of tearing apart the very fabric of the universe, was hidden deep within the heart of their most heavily fortified stronghold, a vast, sprawling complex of tunnels and chambers carved into the surface of a dead, airless moon. The UEF and its allies, led by the indomitable Admiral Novak and the brilliant Captain Sorensen, knew that they had only one chance to stop the Krath before they could unleash their ultimate weapon upon the galaxy. And so, they gathered their forces for one final desperate assault. A massive fleet of ships and soldiers, drawn from every corner of the Allied territories, united in their determination to put an end to the Krath threat once and for all. As the fleet approached the Krath stronghold, they were met with a wall of fire, a vast array of defense platforms and weapon emplacements, all bristling with the most advanced technology the enemy had to offer. But the Allies were not daunted. With the quantum shields of their ships glowing bright against the darkness of space, they plunged headlong into the fray, their weapons blazing as they fought their way through the Krath defenses. At the forefront of the battle was the UES Vanguard, Admiral Novak's flagship, its hull scared and battered from countless engagements, but still unbroken, still a beacon of hope and defiance in the face of overwhelming odds. And beside it, the UES Dauntless, Captain Sorensen's ship, its sleek, streamlined form darting and weaving through the chaos of the battlefield like a silver arrow, its crew working with flawless precision to keep their vessel in the fight. Together, the two ships led the charge, their combined firepower tearing through the Krath lines like a firestorm, clearing a path for the rest of the fleet to follow. But even as they pushed deeper into the enemy stronghold, the true scale of the threat they faced became clear. The Krath's ultimate weapon was no mere bomb or missile, but a device that could warp the very laws of physics themselves, a machine that could create a singularity, a black hole so powerful that it would consume everything in its path. And at the heart of this machine, guiding its every function, was a single, terrible intelligence, a being of pure malevolence and hatred, a creature that had once been a Krath scientist, but had long since lost any shred of its former humanity. This was the true face of the enemy, the driving force behind the Krath's relentless aggression and their unquenchable thirst for destruction. And it would stop at nothing to see its twisted vision realized, even if it meant the end of everything that had ever existed. As the Allied fleet fought its way deeper into the stronghold, Admiral Novak and Captain Sorensen knew that they were running out of time. The Krath's weapon was nearly ready, its activation sequence already underway. And so, they made a final desperate gamble, a plan so audacious, so fraught with risk, that it could only have been born of the most dire necessity. While the rest of the fleet held the line against the Krath's defenses, a small, elite team of soldiers and scientists, led by Sorensen herself, would infiltrate the heart of the enemy stronghold, fighting their way through to the control room where the Singularity machine was housed. There, they would confront the Krath intelligence head-on, engaging it in a battle of wits, and that would determine the fate of the entire galaxy. It was a mission from which there could be no retreat, no surrender. And as Sorensen and her team made their way through the twisting, labyrinthine corridors of the Krath stronghold, they knew that the odds of their survival were slim at best. But they also knew that they had no choice. The fate of everything they held dear, their homes, their families, their very way of life, depended upon their success. And so, with grim determination and unwavering courage, they pressed on, their weapons at the ready, their hearts filled with the knowledge that they were the galaxy's last, best hope against the darkness that threatened to consume it. The final battle had begun, a struggle not just for victory, but for the very survival of all that was good and just in the universe. And though the odds were stacked against them, the soldiers of Earth and their allies knew that they would fight to the very last, for the sake of all that they held dear. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, as the greatest heroes of a generation prepared to make their final stand against the forces of chaos and destruction. The time had come to decide the future, not just of the UEF or the Galactic Confederation, but of all life as they knew it. And in that moment, as the battle raged around them, and the fate of the universe trembled on a knife's edge, one thing became clear: the age of human ascendancy had truly begun, and nothing would ever be the same again. A new era. In the end, it was Captain Lena Sorensen who struck the final blow against the Krath's Singularity machine. With a burst of inspired brilliance, she managed to disrupt the device's control systems at the last possible second, sending its terrible energy spiraling back in on themselves in a cataclysmic implosion that shook the very foundations of the Krath stronghold. The explosion was so intense that it seemed to warp the fabric of reality itself, creating a shimmering, twisting vortex of light and shadow that swallowed up the heart of the enemy base, along with the malevolent intelligence that had guided its every move. For a moment, there was silence, a profound, echoing stillness that seemed to stretch across the entire galaxy. And then, as the dust began to settle and the fires of battle slowly died away, a great cheer went up from the Allied fleet, a cry of joy and triumph that resounded through the stars like the pealing of 1,000 bells. Against all odds, against an enemy that had seemed invincible, the soldiers of Earth and their allies had emerged victorious. The Krath, their once mighty empire shattered beyond repair, were no more, and the galaxy was free at last from their tyranny and oppression. In the aftermath of the battle, as the UEF and its allies began the long, slow process of rebuilding and recovery, Captain Sorensen and her team were hailed as heroes, the saviors of the galaxy, the champions of all that was good and just in the universe. But for Sorensen herself, the victory was bittersweet. The cost had been high, the sacrifices many. Friends and comrades had fallen in the final battle, their lives given in the defense of all that they held dear. And yet, even in the midst of her grief, Sorensen knew that their sacrifice had not been in vain. Because of their courage and their unwavering dedication, The galaxy had been given a new chance at peace, a chance to build a better future, one free from the shadow of war and conflict. As the weeks and months passed, the Allied forces began to receive reports of strange happenings in the far reaches of the galaxy. Whispers of new civilizations, of races and species that had long been hidden from view, emerging at last from the darkness to take their place among the stars. It soon became clear that the craft had not been the only ones watching humanity's rise to power. Other races, some friendly and some wary, had taken notice of the UEF's victories, and they knew that the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted irrevocably. Some sought to forge new alliances with Earth and its allies, recognizing the strength and resourcefulness of the human spirit. Others, more cautious, kept their distance, waiting to see how this new era would unfold. But one thing was certain: the age of human ascendancy had truly begun. No longer were they the underdogs, the newcomers on the galactic stage. Now they were a force to be reckoned with, a power that would shape the course of history for generations to come. And at the heart of it all was Earth itself, the cradle of humanity, the birthplace of the United Earth Federation. Once a divided, fractious world, it had now become a beacon of unity and strength, a shining example of what could be achieved when disparate peoples and cultures came together in common cause. Under the leadership of visionaries like Admiral Novak and Captain Sorensen, Earth and its colonies embarked on a new era of exploration and discovery, reaching out to the stars with a spirit of curiosity and wonder that had once seemed lost forever. They established new outposts and settlements on distant worlds, forged new alliances with alien races, and pushed the boundaries of what was possible with each passing day. And as they did so, they began to realize that their destiny was not simply to survive, but to thrive, to become a guiding light for all the peoples of the galaxy, a force for progress and enlightenment that would endure for centuries to come. The road ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges and obstacles at every turn, new enemies to face, and new battles to fight. But the people of Earth had faced impossible odds before, and they had emerged stronger for it. They had learned that there was no challenge too great, no foe too powerful, when they stood together as one. And so, as the stars beckoned and the universe opened up before them, they set out once more on the greatest adventure of all, the quest to build a better tomorrow, not just for themselves, but for all the beings of the galaxy. It was a new era, a time of hope and possibility unlike any that had come before. And though the future was uncertain, one thing was clear: with the courage and indomitable spirit of humanity to guide them, there was no limit to what they could achieve. The age of human ascendancy had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again.